Hey, good morning everybody. Finally getting around to doing something I said I was going to do a long time ago, and that's do book reviews. Before I get started though, I got quite a few. It's going to be kind of a long video. Kind of want to explain how I do book reviews, or how I view books. And the way I do it is that there's three categories I put informational books into. Now, this information is I read normally from cover to cover, and then there is what I call tabletop books. And tabletop book is one I'll thumb through, but I'll leave it around where it's easy access, where I can get to information real quick. And then there's guides, and in the guides normally I'll take them with me. Normally I always have my edible plants book with me, my edible plants guide with me. Now, these ain't the only kind of books I read, and the reason why I read a lot is because I don't watch TV. I don't have cable or anything else. I do have internet, so any kind of program I want to watch, I can watch on internet. So anyway, let's jump into it, and you may want to hang on, stay tuned with me, because at the end I've got three people I'm going to tag, and got something else I want to show you at the end that you might find kind of funny. Brandy, she's laying over there in the grass. I got a blanket laid out right here for her, but she'd rather lay in the grass where she's going to get fleas. But I don't worry about the fleas, because trust me, she's got enough medicine and oil on her that she ain't going to have to get fleas. Okay, so I'm going to start off, and the first book that I'm going to show you is what actually started my interest in I'm going to say primitive camping and bushcrafting. And this is my third copy. I like this book so much. I read one book till it fell apart. Then the second book I had, I give it away. And this, like I say, this is my third book. It's also what my YouTube channel is named after, which is Wildwood Prepper. This is Wildwood Wisdom. I'm sure everybody's kind of familiar with this book if you're familiar with bushcrafting. And by Ellsworth Yeager. And it's got all kind of information. It's good for the kids, and good for adults. But most of the pictures and stuff like that, most of the information in it, kids will find easy to reference. And it's got some real good diagrams. This is a great book for basic camping and for camping crafts and carving and stuff like that. Great book, great book. I recommend this to anybody that hasn't looked through it. Go to the library, pick it up, and look through it. You'll probably like it so much you might buy one. It's real elementary, but it's a real interesting, real good book. It's got information on all kinds of stuff. You know, it's got mushrooms right there. It's got knots in it. It's got campcraft, and that's what really spurred my interest, was like the campcraft. Notice I got bow drill marked, because I'm working on that. I got one fire started so far, but I'm still getting the hang of it. And but I enjoy doing that. Okay, so that's Wildwood Wisdom by Ellsworth Yeager. Okay, the next book I bought this book in 1973 in Berlin, Germany, at the Stars and Stripes. And this is another book. If you haven't read this is an interesting book. Really, really good book. It's got some real interesting stuff in it. He sometimes gets out there, because when it talks about how to stay alive in the woods, Bradford Anger is the author, and when he starts talking, he talks more about other stuff besides just survival. He actually's got about a paragraph in here about cannibalism, about if push come to shove, and if they come down to it, that more than likely we'd probably start off on our little pets and stuff like that. Ain't that right, Brandy? That's the reason why you're so fat, because I'm keeping you fattened up. No, I'm just joking. But but if push come to shove, it's a known fact that we will become cannibals if it come down to that. A lot of people says they wouldn't, but who knows? And it's possible you wouldn't. This book hasn't got a whole lot of diagrams in it. It does have some in it, but it's a real interesting read. It's real elementary. You see, this book's so old it's falling apart. Back in the back, it's got all kind of references. But I'm gonna close this book up before I lose pages out of it. Great book. You see how brown it is, how old it is. But yeah, it's a great book. Yeah, if you can find one of these, if you pick one up at the flea market, or you might find one at Goodwill or something like this. Real good read also. Okay, now I'm gonna get into the books that most people are pretty much familiar with. It's the modern, newer age books, and the first one I'm going to get into is Woodcraft and Camping by Nesmuk. His actual name is, yeah, well, y'all probably know his actual name. Let's see, I'll find it in here somewhere. Everybody's always called him Nesmuk. Let me see. Sorry I didn't have this prepped. I wasn't ready for this one, I reckon. John Sears, my mistake. Yeah, that's his actual name is let me see. I know it's Sears. Anyway, I can't find it. But anyway, this book right here, I didn't really get that much out of it. It's more of a biography. There is some real interesting stuff in it about how he came about his knives, how he had his knives made, and how he had his hatchets made and stuff. So you'll find that interesting. And one of the big things I was reminded in this book, and I'm gonna tell you real quick a story about the first time I met Joe Flowers. If anybody's kind of used to Joe Flowers is hyper. And the first time I met him, I mean, he was zooming around everywhere. This was at a North Carolina bushcraft meet. He was zooming around everywhere. So I didn't know what to think of this guy. And so, you know, I kept on doing my little stuff and was telling him a little bit about what I do and everything. And then, come to find out, I actually found out who he was and what all he's involved in, and I believe he's involved in everything. So one of the things this guy talks about when he talks about bushcrafting and stuff like that with newbies or greenhorns, the best thing to do is keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Because I had learned, just in a matter of about 5 hours, I learned so much from Joe Flowers. It was unbelievable. And I'm not no idiot. I mean, I'm retired Army. I was infantry and I was in artillery, so I spent a lot of time in the woods. Plus, I was a life scout, so I spent a lot of time in scouting and stuff. But Joe Flowers, just in that matter of time, taught me a lot. So that's one of the things this guy is always referencing back to. Is if you're with an old timer, sometimes it's smart, like I say, keep your mouth shut and ears open. But I didn't find it this book too informational, but it's a good read. It's a good read, and it's, you know, I think they consider him, I think, the grandfather of bushcraft or the father of bushcraft or something like that. I personally don't. I know there's older guys that's got records and information out there that wrote way before he did, but it's still a good book. I know, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the required reads for Pathfinder School. Okay, next book I got. This would have to be my second book after Wildwood Wisdom that I really like. This book, which is Camping and Woodcraft by Horace Kephart. This book is chocked with information. The only thing I don't like about it is supposedly it's two books combined in one. And if you're trying to take it camping with you or hiking with you or anything, it's a big, thick book. And of course, that's the way it was wrote. And it's a great book. You'll notice that I have all kind of markings in it where I reference stuff. It's got good recipes. Got real good camping information in it. It's kind of out of date in some cases, but no, it's got some diagrams in it. It ain't got too many diagrams in either, but it's mostly a reading book. So far, this book is by far any beginner, any greenhorn could pick this book up and learn almost everything they would need to know about camping and woodcraft, bushcraft. Great book, really good book, and that would pretty much fall throughout the whole eastern, central, and western United States. Real good book. I mean, he is from North Carolina, or he did most of his camping in North Carolina. I think he did a lot in Kansas also. But this is a great book. You wouldn't go wrong if you bought this book. It's got shelters in it. It's pretty much the same as almost all the other books, the wildcraft books and everything. You know, it tells you the basic, or all the basic stuff. Very good book. Highly recommend this book. Okay. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Happy Camper by Kevin Callahan. Very basic, very simple. Great recipes, great hiking recipes, camping recipes. He's got some real good information about clothing, which a lot of new people would need to know about, is clothing and stuff. He's got a lot about canoeing and stuff back here in the back. Real humorous writer, and if you ever seen him on YouTube, which I'm sure a lot of you have, he's a humorous guy. So, real good basic. Great pictures. I mean, you can see right there's all kind of pictures throughout this whole book. Great pictures. Yeah, it's a good read. It's a good read, but if it's real basic, I wouldn't recommend. I don't think most people that are intermediate or advanced or anything, I don't think you would probably enjoy it. Not unless you just ain't got nothing to read. Then I would suggest it. Okay. Next book. Everybody's familiar with Tom Brown's Field Guides. Okay, this is Tom Brown's Living with the Earth. When I first started reading this book, I didn't really care too much for it because I didn't really like the way he kept referencing backwards and forth to grandfather and doing all the Indian parables and all this and everything. After a while, you get used to it. After a while, it grows on you, because I do think that everybody should show respect to Mother Nature and to the nature. You know, I'm 100% against guys that go out and sit in deer stands and do nothing but wait on shooting that big trophy buck, or like I seen down at Lake Norman, down close to Charlotte, North Carolina. I seen me and my uncle one day sat and watched a guy pull out three. I don't know if they were albino, but they were 3 solid white deer that he had shot. He had them covered so nobody could see them. Well, my uncle, he's kind of a wild hunter. He'll go over his limit, and I won't say no more about that. So naturally, he wasn't going to call the game warden. I really wanted to call the game warden because the guy was poaching. But anyway, I'm not. When I hunted, when I used to deer hunt, I still hunt, but when I used to deer hunt, normally all I would harvest is one doe, because does are so plentiful around here. I'd get my one doe, which was enough meat for me for the whole year. And every now and then I might harvest 2 does, you know, one for myself and maybe one to give away or take to the VFW for meals at the VFW or whatever. But anyway, this book right here, it's a real good book if you want to know about primitive shelters, primitive habitat, basically living with the earth. You know, he talks about pottery, he talks about basketry, he talks about hides, how to cure hides, how to hunt, how to trap. It's a pretty good book. Like I say, I didn't think I was going to like this book, but believe it or not, I've already ordered 3 more of his books, because by the end of it, it grew on me and I really enjoyed it. There's a big series out by him, and Tom Brown, I mean, I think he actually was one of the original starters of survival schools, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not all that great on bushcraft and survival schools and everything like that. Used to, I just called it camping. I mean, that's what I thought when I was a kid. That's when my daddy took us to the river. I mean, to me, it was camping. I mean, of course, back then, the idea, you know, the stoves and fire pits and stuff like that consisted of four Pabst Blue Ribbon cans stuck in the dirt with a fire built up under it and a grill on top of the Pabst Blue Ribbon cans. That was camping. And so, I mean, my old man did make sure, my daddy did make sure, though, that we did dig a cat hole. There's nothing make him work madder than if he went out to the backwoods from the lake and find toilet paper sitting on top of the ground, ooh, he'd get mad. Of course, we all should. But anyway, very good read. Okay, the next book, I'm going to talk about Bushcraft by KarenChakey. Good book on axes. However, I'm going to say that this book is more designed for the northern hardwood boreal forest than it is down here. I'm going to say the southeastern America. Even though there's a lot of good camping, a lot of good bushcrafting stuff in it with the axes. He's got a real good article on axes. He's got a real good article on natural natural cordage, and I will say something about some of his diagrams he's got in here. If you're a beginner, just like I'm pretty much a beginner on axe craft, some of these diagrams are real confusing. They almost might be dangerous to a newbie like myself when it comes to axes. But one of the reasons why I didn't care too much for this book is a lot of the stuff that he talks about in here I would probably never come in contact with unless I go to the boreal forest or whatever. And I'm going to tell you the truth, he's got a whole article back here. There's a whole article back here on moose. I have never seen a moose before in my life. I haven't even seen a moose in the zoo. I mean, I've seen one on Northern Exposure, but I doubt it. Unless we get another ice age and moose start moving down here, and I don't foresee me ever seeing a moose. It's an okay read. I wasn't impressed with this book. It might be for more advanced people. Maybe more advanced people would enjoy this book. But me, as just a camper and bushcrafter, I mean, I didn't care much for it. There is a couple of his pamphlets I'm looking for and I'm hoping to buy that I think would be fun. I think one of them's called Sticks and Twigs, and one of them's called Camp Craft, or Crafting at Camp, something like that. I think I'd enjoy those books. But like I say, I think this is for more of an advanced person or something like that. I just couldn't relate too much of it, even though. Of course, he talks most of his shelters and stuff like that. It's like super shelter. Everybody's familiar with super shelter. Everybody's familiar with igloos and stuff like that up north. But down here, I mean, we got 3 snows this year, and that was more than we've ever seen. But I'm not cutting this book because I think it'd be good for anybody up in the hardwood forest in northern. And if I did cut it, I'd probably have so many people that would cuss me out. So, take it for what it's worth. It's not. It just wasn't nothing I could relate to. Okay, the next book I'm gonna talk about is Cody Lundeen, 98.6. This book here, it starts off talking about mostly all physical stuff. Physical and your body makeup and stuff like that. I didn't start off enjoying this book. He's got some pretty good diagrams. It's a pretty humorous book, even though it is a serious subject. But anyway, the beginning of this book I didn't care too much for it because of the way it was started writing. If it wasn't been for the diagrams and the pictures, I probably wouldn't have stuck with this book. But I tell you, by the time you get back here to where he starts talking about water purification and everything like that, this is a good book, a very good read. I highly recommend anybody read this book. And so anyway, sorry, neighbor just drove by waving, I couldn't wave. And anyway, you'd enjoy this book. It's got, in the very center, he's got a bunch of diagrams, I think, or bunch of pictures. I think that's the way most of his books are set up, where he's got pictures in the very center of it. But this book's got a real comprehensive detail of what he carries in his survival kit, and he not only just shows it and tells it, he explains why he carries it. Very good book. Highly recommend this book to anybody that hasn't read it yet, both novice and experienced. Notice I almost said expert, but I just don't believe that there is a such thing as an expert. Very few experts in anything, in any field. in my opinion. But very good read. This book was so good. Yeah, I already ordered. Matter of fact, on order right now, I got When All Hell Breaks Loose. From what I've seen on YouTube, the book reviews for When All Hell Breaks Loose, everybody says that's a real good book, a real good read. So that's my next book. Okay, I thought I had one of my guides out here, but I don't have one of my guides. I used it day before yesterday and got it in my pack, so I forgot to bring one out. But everybody kind of knows Peterson's Field Guide on edible plants, medicinal plants, trees. Most all the guides I got are Peterson Field Guides. I do have some Smithsonian. I like Smithsonian, Reader's Digest. I got a couple Reader's Digest. But I highly recommend anybody that's wanting to learn that, get those books. You know, it'd help you a whole lot. Okay, the next type book I'm gonna talk about is what I call my coffee table books, my tabletop books. This is the first book I'm gonna talk about. Great book. I'm going to thumb through. This is the kind of book that I just thumb through. I keep it on my desk all the time so I can reference it real quick for like knots, edible plants, first aid, firecraft, campcraft, shelter building, you name it, gold digging, you name it, it's in this book. Great book. I'm going to show you. I don't know if you'll be able to see the table of contents right here. I'm going to let it stay on there so you can kind of look at it real quick. You can always pause it. But anyway, I'm gonna kind of flip through this book so y'all can just basically see what it looks like on the inside. You'll see why I like this book so much. Got weather. Yeah. There's a little bit of everything for outdoor stuff in here. Canoeing, boating, fishing. Well, I better not say fishing. I don't really remember seeing a bunch about fishing. It does have some hunting stuff in it. Great book. Very good for references. Got the very good book. Y'all would enjoy this book. Well, no problem. I don't really have no place marking in here. It talks about jungles and everything else. So y'all would probably really enjoy this book. I highly recommend this book. Okay, this pretty much has got me started on the books I read. Some of the books I read this winter, and like I say, I read a lot. I think I've got about 5 other books inside that I've read that I'll probably talk about. I just wanted to kind of knock them books out. And if you have any questions about any of these books that I've read, feel free to comment, PM me, email me, you know, however you want to do it. And I'll tell you whether or not it's worth buying, in my opinion, or not, whether it's worth reading. And a lot of these books you might can find at libraries in some of the bigger cities. These books here that I've got here, I did go to the library and look for about 4 or 5 of them, and of course, a couple of them I already had, but this area for some reason doesn't carry very much camping or just bushcrafting type books. Like I say, I do have a couple more books. I've got about seven or 8 books sitting on my desk that I'm reading. Right now, I am reading Bushcraft. Oh, come on, help me out. Ray Mears' Bushcraft book is what I'm reading now. It's in my pack. And I normally carry a book and a field guide and a journal with me all the time to the field. Sounds like a lot, but I don't carry too much unless I'm camping or anything. Let's stick this back in here. Okay, next thing I want to show y'all. Y'all might get a kick about it. Now, everybody, a lot of people are doing the butcher knife, you know, the old time or the old hickory butcher knives and everything like that. I went to the flea market Friday afternoon, found me a old hickory butcher knife, brought it home, and made me a sheath for it. Now, when I was making this sheath, I tried to keep it, you know, kind of as period as I possibly could. And I started thinking to myself, you know, I wonder if back in those days, back in the older days, you know, I'm talking about back in the 1700s, when with their knives, with these guys' knives and stuff like that, I was wondering, thinking to myself, I wonder if they were as bad about tying and hooking stuff to their sheaths as what we are, because you'll see a lot of these sheaths nowadays got pockets and pockets upon pockets on top of these sheaths. Got ferrocium rods taped to the sides and everything else. So I said, you know, I just wonder. So I thought when I made this sheath, and I did try to keep it as period as I possibly could, I made me a little pouch. I made me a little pouch to tie onto my sheath to put me a little piece of flint in. There's my primitive fire starting with my primitive, my semi-period knife. It ain't no more than an old hickory. Some thin leathers, because I know back in the days when they needed a knife sheath, they didn't sit around and order no 9-10 ounce leather from Tandy Leather. They used what they had on hand, and most of the time it was buckskin, and most of the time buckskin was not real thick leather. It was normally flimsy leather. So, but anyway, that's my thoughts about it. But anyway, I tried to keep this as period as possible, and like I say, I kind of did that as a joke. Put me a piece of made me a little suede pouch so I could put me a piece of flint in it. And yeah, this knife does throw a good spark with a ferrocium rod or a piece of flint. So I'm good to go on that. I just thought that was amusing. But anyway, I better get over this book review or this video. I might not even be able to load it because it might be so loud. But anyway, I'll tell you 2 books I got on order right now. One is Daniel Beard, his Fieldcraft and Forest Handbook. And I already told you the Cody Lundeen's When All Hell Breaks Loose. And yes, I'm getting ready to tag 3 people. If you're able to do it, please do it, because I know by the end of summer or by the middle of next winter, I'm going to need more books to read. Sorry about the lawnmower back in the background. I thought I got out here early enough to beat people from starting lawnmowers. Okay, so the 3 people I'm going to tag is Bob 808 Knight. Bob, I know you're getting ready to go on the bushcraft extravaganza down in Tennessee. So if you don't get a chance to do it, you know, if you don't mind, you know, I'd like to see 3 of y'all's books. 3 books by each one of these people. If you have them, if you've read them, if you don't mind. Okay, the next person is going to be Karen. Yeah, you've been tagged. KarenChakey of KarenChakey YouTube channel, KarenChakey. Karen, even if it's like a bushcraft camping book that your grandchildren read, I'd like to see that, because I've got friends that got grandchildren. I've got grandchildren that maybe I can get them involved in it. But Karen, I appreciate it if you do it. Thank you. And the next one is Mark at Scouting Free. And Mark, I know that you probably, I mean, I'm sure you got access to a lot of the books I have. And as a matter of fact, talking about that, even if y'all want to review, you 3 want to review books that I've already reviewed, I'd love to see what you thought about these books. So Mark, just letting you know that even if your books are in German and it's bushcrafting, camping, I'd love to hear what some of the German or European bushcrafters, authors and stuff had to say about this subject. Even if it is in German, you know, we might could even find it on the internet where it's been translated. So Mark of Scouting Free, you've been tagged also. And what I'd like to see is that the 3 people that I tagged, I'd kind of like to see each one of you tag 3 people for their book reviews. Okay, that's the end of this video, and yes, I will be doing some more book reviews. Since my last video, I think I've gone out on 2 overnighters and probably about 5 or 6 hikes. I did a Sunday hike, or a Sunday weekend out on Little River last weekend, it was pretty interesting. I just never did, I didn't make no videos or anything like that, post no videos, no pictures or anything like that. There are some pictures on my Facebook channel if you want to go to my Facebook channel. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed, and like I say, if you have any questions about these books, just PM me or make a comment. And I appreciate it. It's Sunday, beautiful out here right now. I've been working on my garden. I'll show you my garden real quick. It's back here in the back, and it's doing pretty good right now. I planted a bunch more onions, a bunch more radishes yesterday, and I got snow peas. Snow peas are coming up right now. They're doing pretty good right now. Got lettuce, spinach. I've got let's say carrots ain't doing too good. I think I waited till it was a little too hot. This whole area from here all the way down is onions, and of course I got stuff planted over in there. And this is my small garden here, but got cabbage planted and a few other things planted other places. Okay, so anyway, y'all take care, and y'all have a good day. There's Brandy. She didn't want to lay on the rug. She just wanted to stay out here. You want to say hello, Brandy? Say hello, Brandy. Yeah, she got cut last weekend. Like I say, she got oil. Done taking 2 pills for fleas. But anyway, y'all have a great weekend, or what's left of the weekend anyway. Bye.